There are 5 stages of yarn grief.
Are you buying new yarn?
Denial.
Yarn relaxes me. At least I'm not buying expensive purses.
Anger.
What do you mean I buy too much yarn I'll never be able to use it? Look, I have a project I want to do and I need this yarn.
Bargaining.
Look, I promise I won't buy any more yarn. I just need this Brava yarn just so I can finish this one project.
Depression.
How am I supposed to make this project without more yarn?
Acceptance.
I'm buying more yarn. Today is going to be a super quick yarn review, no bull, no fluff, straight to the point. So today's yarn was provided by crochet.com. We're going to be looking at 3 types of yarn. We're going to be looking at Chroma Worsted weight, Chroma Twisted, and Memento yarn. So we're going to be checking out 3 points. We're going to check out how it feels, how it crochets, and what it looks like worked up. So let's hop immediately into this review. Don't forget to hit the like button. Every like helps me purchase more yarn. Let's check out the yarns that we'll be looking at today. We're going to be checking out Memento yarn, Chroma Worsted weight yarn, and Chroma Twist bulky weight yarn. So let's look at Memento yarn first. Let me tell you about the fiber content. This is 100% Pima cotton. I think I pronounced that right. This is a worsted weight yarn and a recommended hook size is a K. You'll receive about 232 yards of yarn, which is 100 grams, and it's a center pull ball. Typically, I do not like cotton yarn. I just run clear of it because it tends to be like a stiff, drier, hard to work with yarn. So far, this feels extremely soft to the touch and much different than the other cotton yarns that I've worked with. So let's see how it is to crochet with this yarn. I dropped down to a 5.5mm crochet hook, which is also recommended for this yarn weight, but notice how it's still a little bit gappy. So if you're gonna use this yarn, I probably recommend going down to a 5 or even a 4. So while crocheting with this yarn, I like it. I didn't notice many splits at all. You know how when you work with cotton yarn, you get all those splits if it's not twisted together correctly? I did not notice that with this yarn, and it's very easy to work with. Definitely like the crochet with it. So let's go to the most fun part and see how the colorway works up. I worked a random swatch on my knitting machine so you can see the colorway. Let me just show you how this feels. This lays so nicely compared to other cotton yarns. This does not feel like cotton. It is so soft and it drapes nicely. I can see this worked on sweaters or something. And I love how the colors are stitched together. Look at that. It is beautiful. All right, let's go on to the very next yarn. Next, we're gonna be looking at Chroma Worsted weight yarn. This is 70% superwash wool and 30% nylon. This is a worsted weight yarn. You receive 198 yards of yarn, which is 100 grams. And once again, this is a center pull yarn. This of course, I'm squeezing it. It's a soft yarn. As you can tell, it is a roving yarn. This is not a silky texture. If this camera is making it seem like this is silky, it is not a silky texture yarn. This has a nice little halo fuzz on it. I can already tell you now, anything you crochet that has like a halo fuzz around it, if you make any mistakes, frogging will be difficult. But so far, I like this yarn and I like the way the colors are. So let's give this a little stitch test. I don't know if it's just me or does roving yarn make every stitch look cool. I absolutely love it. All right, let me show you how this stitch works out. Crocheting with this is super easy. I wish I could put this into words better, but while crocheting this, it feels bouncy. Does that make sense? I guess because the way the yarn is twisted, roving yarn tends to twist upon itself. So when I'm crocheting, it has a little bouncy tug to it, which I like, which is not a negative at all. So I want to do another test. We know it crochets well. Let's give it a frog test. I know it's going to snag, but I just like to see how bad it might snag. Because you know, anything with a halo does snag. Okay. Oh, there's a snag. I hit one. It wasn't too bad. Oh my goodness, this is passing the frogging test. Oh, It snagged finally on the last one. So if you're gonna use this yarn and you have to frog it, please be gentle. It does snag, but not as much as other like roving type yarns. All right, let's see how the colorway works up. First, I want you to look at the colorway of this yarn. This colorway's transition so seamless. And if you're color incompetent like myself, you're gonna need some type of variegating or self-striping yarn. This is very light. I can imagine this being on, of course, another sweater or a hat or a scarf, but it's light, not heavyweight. And when worked up, remember how I said it didn't have a shine, but when worked up, it does have a sheen. See if you can see the sheen when I'm turning my hand with the yarn. I absolutely love this. So you got to see this worked up. Let's move on to the very next one. Next, we're going to look at Chroma Twist bulky yarn. This is 70% superwash wool and 30% nylon. This is a bulky weight yarn. The recommended hook size for this is K through M. With the skein, you'll receive 127 yards, which is 100 grams of yarn. When this originally came, it came in a hank. You know how hanks are twisted. So I had to take my yarn winder and wind it into a cake, which I hate to do. If I'm going to crochet, I want to immediately hop into my yarn and not have to work at it at all. So I say that's a negative. Other than that, the yarn itself is pretty. I've never worked with anything like this before where the colors are twisted together like this. So let's hop into a quick stitch test and see how they look and work up. So far working with this yarn, it is super easy to work with. I am not noticing, as usual, any splits when I'm crocheting. Each one of the stitches are super fluffy, I guess due because it's bulky weight yarn. Let me show it to you up close. I love how the colors show through. You get like a purple, bluish green that kind of shows through the background. So I'm going to work this up on my knitting machine so you can see the colorway a little bit better. Here's what it looks like all worked up. I can definitely say this is a beautiful thick yarn. If you want something warm like a blanket or a hat, this is going to be it. It is very thick yet soft. As you can see, when it's thicker yarn, it doesn't drape as much as the other yarns that I showed you. And with these colors, I was a little bit nervous about the colors of this, the way it's twisted, but look how it works up. It's beautiful. It's a nice look. Like I said, I'm color incompetent and I have trouble with my colors. So look at the transitions. It all transitions nicely. But I do have a negative about this. This green color was one of the big reasons why I purchased this yarn. I thought that would be so unique and different to be spread throughout purple and blue. But look how long it takes to transition to this. So we got blue, purple, some more blue, purple, and finally up here when I'm almost done with the skein of yarn, this color finally hits. So I wish this was the colors transition more often during the skein of yarn. Other than that, I love it. If you enjoyed any of these yarns, I'm going to have them all linked down below to crochet.com. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please check out my other yarn reviews, and I'll see you all on the next video. Bye, guys.